but now I'm working flat out from here on.
I will start the webinar. Hi everyone, we will be beginning the webinar shortly. Before I hand over to the CBBC Chair, Sir Sharad, I would like to just go through a quick bit of housekeeping before we begin. Please note this session will be recorded and a link will be made available to CBBC members after the event. There will be a Q&A session, and if you have any questions that you would like to put to the Ambassador during the session, please use the Q&A function on your screens. Please note we won't be able to answer all the questions during the session, but we will look to reflect the broad interests of our members during the discussion. So now I would like to hand over to the Chair of CBBC, Sir Sharad, to introduce the session and welcome our speaker.
Good. Well, thank you, Isabel, and thank you above all, Ambassador Liu, for being with us. We have a record attendance at this CBBC webinar, nearly 500 people. The seminar is open to the wider world. It's being watched by Sky Television, by CGTN in China, and no doubt by other media outlets as well. We are incredibly lucky to have you because you stand at an important point in the relationship between not only Britain and China, but between the West and China. You have seen for yourself the difficulties which the epidemic has brought to China and now to the wider world. You've stood at the center of efforts to get protective equipment, to get supplies, first from the West to China and now from China to the wider world. You know us extremely well. You've been ambassador to the United Kingdom for 10 years. You were before that Chinese ambassador to Egypt and the deputy Chinese ambassador to the United States. You are a friend of the United Kingdom and of the relationship between Zhongguo and Yingguo, and we're very
Sorry, we just look like we've lost Sharad for a moment. We'll just reconnect him.
sent in advance by email. So thank you very much indeed, Ambassador. And over to you, Ambassador Liu.
So, sir, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is your delight to join you at the CBBC webinar. Thanks to modern technology, we are able to exchange views online on some very important issues to both our countries in this difficult time. The spread of COVID-19 around the world poses a grave challenge to human society. It seriously threatens the safety and health of the people, strikes a heavy blow to global production and demand, and severely undermines the economy and our societies. The public health crisis is a major test to all countries of the world. It is living proof that the world is undergoing profound changes unseen in a century, and that in this world, we all belong to a community with a shared future. In face of this crisis, how is China responding? China is the first country in the world to report the epidemic to the WHO, the first country to identify the pathogen of the virus, the first to share the full genetic sequence of the virus with WHO and other countries, the first to adopt comprehensive and effective measures of prevention and control, the first to achieve preliminary but important success in containing the virus, the first to start to bring economic activities back to normal across the country. In this battle against the virus, China has followed three principles. First, saving lives. The people are the focus of all our efforts. President Xi Jinping has reiterated that we should always regard the safety and health of the people as a top priority. Acting responsibly in record time after the outbreak, the Chinese government established an all-dimensional and multi-layered network of prevention and control that involves everyone from the central government down to the grassroots communities. The measures we have taken are most comprehensive, strict, and thorough that the world has ever seen. The principles of early diagnosis, early report, early quarantine, and early treatment have been followed. COVID-19 patients were admitted into designated hospitals that offer best experts, sufficient resources, and timely and tailored treatment. Facts prove that these measures were timely, decisive, and effective. The whole nation was under overall planning and fully mobilized to meet the crisis head-on and bring the virus under control. The second principle is helping each other. China has acted responsibly, and not only for the safety and health of the Chinese people, but also from reporting the epidemic, providing full genetic sequence of virus, to sharing experience of prevention, control, and treatment. China has also sent 19 medical teams to 17 countries and donated much needed medical supplies such as masks, protective gowns, testing kits, and ventilators to more than 150 countries and international organizations, including the UK. This public health crisis proves that helping each other is the only way to a final victory over the virus. The third principle is standing in solidarity. According to IMF estimation, the world economy will contract by 3% in 2020. The slide will be much worse than that caused by the international financial crisis in 2008. In face of the grave situation, only solidarity can tide us over and prevent the economic slowdown from evolving into a recession. At the extraordinary G20 Leaders Summit 2 months ago, President Xi Jinping said, at such a moment, it is imperative for the international community to strengthen confidence, act with unity, and work together in a collective response. He also said that we need to enhance international macroeconomic policy coordination and take collective action, cutting tariffs, removing barriers, and facilitating unfettered flow of trade so as to restore confidence of global economic recovery. China and the UK are partners in the battle against COVID-19. In a matter of 1 month, President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Johnson had 2 telephone conversations during which they reached important agreement on China-UK joint response to the virus and overall China-UK relations. There have been frequent telephone conversations between Vice Premier Hu Zhenhua and Chancellor Sunak, between Director Yang Jiechi and Sir Mark Sedgwick, between State Councillor Wang Yi and Foreign Secretary Rao, and between Health Minister Ma Xiaowei and Health Secretary Matt Hancock. I myself have close communication with the UK government secretaries, ministers, and senior officials here in London. China and the UK have engaged in close coordination and cooperation in fighting against the epidemic. We have provided each other medical supplies, shared information and experience, and conducted joint R&D of vaccine and medicines. China and the UK are both strong advocates of multilateralism. We both support the important role of the WHO in the global response to the virus, stand for stronger cooperation under the framework of the G20, and to work to improve global public health governance. Both China and UK are important participants, facilitators, and beneficiaries of economic globalization and trade liberalization. In this difficult time, it is all the more important that our 2 countries uphold open and win-win cooperation, support free trade, safeguard multilateralism, and ensure that the global industry and supply chains are open, stable, and safe. While the international community is focusing on the fight against COVID-19, some US politicians are busy with the spreading rumors and slanders. They turn a blind eye to China's enormous efforts, sacrifice, and contribution, and politicize public health issues by sticking the virus label on a specific region and stigmatizing China. Regrettably, a few politicians in the UK have been addicted to the Cold War mentality. They compare China to the former Soviet Union, urge a review of China-UK relationship, and even call for a new Cold War. Such talks are political virus. If go unchecked, they will poison China-UK joint effort and even international solidarity, just as it's needed most in the battle we are fighting. They will also undermine China-UK political mutual trust and cooperation across the board. We must stay on high alert and say no to these remarks. We should make it clear to the trumpeters of such a fallacy that China is not a former Soviet Union and the Cold War has ended for good, and that peace and development are the theme of our times and also the common goal of China and the United Kingdom. The Chinese and British businesses have always played an important role in developing China-UK friendship and cooperation and promoting prosperity and stability in the world. The outbreak of COVID-19 has caused a temporary slide in China-UK trade. Some companies may encounter difficulties in payment, collection, and logistics. On the brighter side, the positive factors of China-UK relations remain unchanged. The economies of our 2 countries are still highly complementary. The foundation for economic, trade, and investment collaboration is still solid. Our businesses are still confident in China-UK cooperation. The Chinese word for crisis is a combination of two meanings, namely crisis and opportunities. In face of a crisis, we always focus on finding opportunities in the crisis and turning the crisis into opportunities. In this time of difficulties, how do we turn the crisis into opportunities and speed up development? I have following three suggestions. First, as China's economy takes the lead to recover, there will be opportunities up for grabs. China has a COVID-19 under control and continues to consolidate the initial success. Its economy is showing a steady momentum of recovery. As of the end of April, 99% of large-scale enterprises have been reopened, and 95% of staff and workers are back to work. Manufacturing PMI was above the threshold in both March and April, reaching 50.8% in April. According to a survey conducted by China's Ministry of Commerce, covering more than 8,200 key foreign companies in China, 76.6% have powered on over 70% of their production capacity by April 28th. The battle against COVID-19 has also created opportunities for China's economic transformation and upgrading. It has given rise to a stay-at-home economy, cloud office, digital economy, artificial intelligence, and healthcare. The potential for further growth in these areas will be huge. China has become a major global supplier of medical products. This represents China's contribution to the global response to COVID-19 pandemic and helps strengthen the industrial and supply chains for these products in the future. China will continue to be the factory and the market of the world. China will remain an important powerhouse for world economic growth. It is my hope that British businesses will seize opportunities in China's economy and take the lead in global economic recovery once the pandemic is over. Second, as China pursues open world economy, there will be opportunities up for grabs. China's enormous success in the past 40+ years is attributed to reform and opening up. Going forward, deeper reform and further opening up will continue to enable China to achieve even greater success. China will continue deepening reform and opening its market wider to the world. This will not be held back by COVID-19. The Chinese government is implementing fully the policy of a pre-establishment national treatment plus a negative list. It is also working on shortening the negative list and promoting the building of a pilot free trade zones and the free trade ports. The 127th China Import and Export Fair will take place online in June, and the third China International Import Expo will be held in November. Both events will create valuable opportunities for the mutually beneficial cooperation between China and the rest of the world. We look forward to seeing you all at this important event. Moreover, China and the UK are engaging in discussions on arrangements for a free trade agreement. China is now the third largest export market for goods from the UK. The UK is the third largest trading partner for China in the EU. It is also the largest destination for Chinese investment in Europe. I believe that in building an open world economy, China and the UK will find new impetus for their trade and economic cooperation in the future. And our two countries could also identify important opportunities for vitalizing the world economy. Last but not the least, the opportunities in building a Silk Road of public health will be up for grabs. The ongoing battle against COVID-19 tells us that we must make long-term plans for global public health if we want to be well prepared for and gain advantage in any future outbreaks. This means we should improve governance, and in doing so, we must enhance the leading role of the UN and the WHO. We must come together as a community. The Belt and Road Initiative offers important routes to building a community of public health. With its goal of promoting economic growth along the route, safeguarding regional and global peace and stability, BRI can help partners build stronger and more efficient public health. Building a Silk Road of public health could contribute to building and improving global public health governance. In turn, it could open up more space for high-quality cooperation on Belt and Road Initiative. In response to COVID-19 outbreak, China Railway Express opened the Green Channel for medical supplies and daily necessities to reach Europe in time and hassle-free. Amid shrinking global trade, China Railway Express will facilitate the movement of goods across borders between China and Europe to elevate the impact of the epidemic on the industrial and supply chains. I'm confident that China and UK could benefit from tapping the potential of BRI. UK's experience, knowledge, creative ideas will complement with China's capital, technology, and commercialization capability. Together, we can go for win-win results. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 is a major test which will bring major changes. In face of this test, countries of the world must respond to a series of questions. Do we embrace economic globalization or reject it? Do we stay open or hide behind the closed doors? Do we work together or fight each other? Do we go for multilateralism or resort to unilateralism? I'm sure China and the UK have the same answers to these questions. I'm confident that as long as we stand firm, come to each other's aid, turn crises into opportunities, and deepen cooperation, we will claim final victory over the virus and create a better and brighter future for our world. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador, very much indeed for those opening remarks. My first question was going to be about your reply to the critics in the UK, as well as in America, of China and the state of the relationship. But I think you've largely answered that. So I've got two questions to start, and we've got many more coming in, so I'd like to move quickly. Perhaps you could first confirm, I think you can stay on a bit after 12 o'clock, can't you? So you'll be able to stay on a bit longer, because we've got so many questions coming in. So the first question is about those who call for an inquiry into the origins of the pandemic. What would you say to people calling for an inquiry?
First, as I said in my speech, China has been open, transparent, and informed both WHO and other countries with regard to the parastem, pathogen, and the genetic sequence. There's no cover, there's no hiding at all. We are transparent, we are open. And that has been spoken highly by WHO, by their leading experts, scientists, and also by many countries in the world. Even by the British scientist, Paris, he said in the daily briefings that because of the earlier identification of the virus, because China have shared this information very quickly, at a very early stage, that the world has time to study, to do research on the vaccine, to gain the time for that. So that has been fully recognized. That's my first point to the question. Second, this inquiry, these noises and so-called requests, mainly from America, from United States, and also echoed by some Western countries, very few. I think these calls are politically motivated. I think, as I said, the international community is focusing on fight against the virus, while the virus still ravaging the world, taking lives of many countries, especially in the United States and also in this country. Instead of focusing on fight against the virus, instead of saving lives, and they want to do some inquiry. I do not know. I believe this. I think this is they have this ulterior motive. They want to pass the buck of their lack of response, lack of work efforts to contain the virus to China. There's a game of blaming, scapegoating. It's not helpful for international response to this virus. Thirdly, I would say, with regard to the origin of the virus, I think it's up to the scientists. This is a matter of science. It's not a matter for politicians to decide. I think politicians should be focused on how to mobilize the country to fight against the virus. But we should trust scientists, doctors, the experts in their search for the origin of the virus. Of course, any country should reflect on their response effectiveness. No country is perfect, but this is not a time for this. And we also admit that we can do even better. We are open, transparent with regard to how to, draw lessons from the response to this virus. We can compare notes with other countries. We did it, as a matter of fact. We're open, transparent. But I think that's a different from the political motive call for the so-called inquiry.
Thank you, Ambassador, very much. Now, on the business side, we've got a lot of questions from people asking when will it be possible to travel back to China. We've had some good news this morning that the 13 China-Britain Business Council offices across China are now all fully open. And I think your government has announced this morning that people possessing a green card can now freely enter China. But would you like to say something about the free flow of people now between China and the United Kingdom in particular, but also the outside world?
The top priority is still to keep this virus under control. And the more concerns now is now about imported cases. So we still have to be vigilant about imported cases. We have to make sure that there will be no reborn of this virus, no second wave. And so we have to still guard against this. So the measures, the restrictions are still in place, but it's improving, it's loosening as the situation improves. So I'm very pleased to hear you got good news about your staff going back to China. And I believe that as the situation improves with regard to control of the virus, that the situation will be better, will be improved. I just heard the good news that the confirmed cases in China now is below 500. As we have more good news like this, the more loosening of restrictions will be lifted.
Good, thank you, Ambassador. Now, we've got a number of questions from people in the education sector, aware that before this pandemic, there were 200,000 Chinese students at British universities. I think for one university in particular, Edinburgh University, there was a 30% rise in applications from China for the autumn. Many in the university sector, the higher education sector here, are worried about the effect that this will have on the willingness of Chinese students to travel to the United Kingdom for their studies this autumn, about travel in the other direction. Can you say something to people in the education sector at both ends of this vitally important relationship about when and how you see those links resuming?
I quite agree with you that education is a very important sector linking up the two countries. As a matter of fact, Chinese students in UK, as you said, there are about 200,000. Largest student group, Chinese student group in Europe, and second in the world. There's a lot of concerns at the beginning of the outbreak among the Chinese students, and we try to reach out to them. I have several online webinars like this with the Chinese students across the UK. The Chinese government are very much concerned about the health and safety of Chinese students, just as the President. President Xi Jinping said on many occasions that we attach great importance to the safety and health of Chinese living overseas, especially Chinese students. And in addressing their concerns, the government provide what we call it a health package. I did a presentation, a ceremony at the embassy. We reach out to about 100,000 of Chinese students. Some of them left. And we also work with the aviation authorities back in China to arrange a charter plane to take back some, young pupils who have depended on British family for the weekend, for the spring break. So there's a grave concern, that's for sure. But I'm still confident that the basics, the fundamentals of the education collaboration between China and UK are still there. It's just a matter of time. The situation is not very encouraging here in UK, but still we receive many inquiries from families, from young students about the future enrollment in British schools. Yes, I also should mention that in the past few weeks, I wrote letters to 154, the vice chancellors of 154 universities that are home to Chinese students, while expressing my concerns about the safety and health of the Chinese students, I encourage the school authorities to take good care of them. I also express my commitment, our commitment, to stronger relationship between Chinese universities and British university. So I believe that the fundamentals still there, and once the pandemic is over, we can resume our cooperation. So we still keep very close contact with the universities. My embassy education section keep very close contact with all over 100 British universities. I myself also keep close contact with the Secretary of Education of the UK government and the Director General. We exchange letters about how China and UK can strengthen the education cooperation.
Good. Well, thank you, Ambassador. There's a particular question on education which you may not be able to answer, and you may want to pass back to the Education Ministry in Beijing. But this is from someone in Glasgow, at the University of Glasgow, a Chinese student, asking if your Education Ministry will recognize degrees that are obtained through blended learning, i.e. a mixture of online and face-to-face courses, hoping that your Education Ministry will show flexibility if classes can't be delivered face-to-face by British universities.
I'm not in position to say yes or no, but I can certainly pass on to the Education Ministry. This is a new phenomenon. It is recognized, online study, online learning. There will be, they always say in the English language, where there's a will, there's a way. So I think it will be recognized that this is an extraordinary situation. So I think then the extraordinary measures will be taken in this regard.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Now, there's still a lot of questions about the sort of anti-Chinese sentiment in parts of the media here, in parts of particularly the Conservative Party. And perhaps I could ask you another version of the same question, which is, when you are talking to Chinese investors in the UK, of which there are a large number of important Chinese investors, likely to become even more important in the future, what do you, as China's ambassador, say to them about reassuring them about some of these voices in British politics and media in order to encourage them to continue to invest in the United Kingdom?
First, I think we have to separate what the official position of the UK government and the broad consensus among UK society towards China. So when you say there's many anti-China rhetorics, I do not believe they represent first UK government position. They do not represent the broader consensus among, the businesses in UK, including CBBC, 48 Group Clubs, and other CBI. I'm going to have another webinar in 2 weeks' time with Chairman Allen and his members. It's a much larger group. I believe that the UK government and Prime Minister Johnson is still committed to stronger relationship with China. In his 2 telephone conversations and in his exchange of letters with the Chinese leaders, President Xi, Prime Minister Zhang, Prime Minister Johnson reaffirmed his commitment, his government commitment to a stronger relation with China, to the golden era with China. And also, I believe the business community here in this country also welcome Chinese businesses, support stronger relationship, partnership with China. And so I'm not worried. When I was asked this question in Hard Talk I do not know how many of you watch this program. Whether I'm concerned about China-UK relations, my answer is yes or no. So when I say yes, I feel confident that we can work with the UK government cross-border, in addition to joint fight against the virus. Also, we have a very busy agenda in front of us, bilaterally and multilaterally. And I engage very actively with the business community. Education sector is another area. And even when it's come to the media, I think they are not that all bad. At the very beginning, I would say I read some balanced report about China's fight, China's sacrifice, China's efforts to have bought the time for the world and to make enormous sacrifice in many media. But once Americans started this campaign of disinformation, scapegoating against China, some media followed the suit. They dance to the tune of American politicians, American media. Maybe there's some connections culturally, and I do not want to be that critical. I do not want them to be friendly towards China. I just want them to be balanced, objective in their reporting, in reporting China. So I think, but I agree with you. This kind of noises, as I said, and also some politicians, but they are few. I do not believe they represent government position, and they do not even represent the parliament. I think the main theme of China-UK relations is partnership, cooperation, friendship. There's a Cold War rhetoric. Do not represent the mainstream of today.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think it was Premier Zhou Enlai who first said we should seek common ground while setting aside differences, and it's a sentiment that's been repeated over the years. But I want to move back to economic issues, which are the primary concern of the China-Britain Business Council. And we've had 3 or 4 questions from members asking about the return of demand in China. You spoke about the return of supply, the return of the big manufacturers to work. But how do you see demand returning, both inside China and, of course, in China's overseas markets? Is that not going to slow economic recovery?
Everyone would agree that this epidemic had impact on the economy, not only China's domestic economy, but also trade investment as well. But the government attaches great importance to the recovery of the economy. Even before we have the pandemic, the epidemic under complete control, that we focus on. Presidency said we are fighting 2 fronts. Front 1 is against virus. The front 2 is, resumption of production of the economy. The government have introduced many measures, especially what we call 6 stabilizing measures and the 6 protection measures. The so-called 6 stabilizing measures, what the specific is to stabilize employment, to stabilize financial market, to stabilize foreign trade, investment, FDI, and expectation. Protection is that the measures were taken to protect employment, basic livelihood, market entities, food energy security, stable industrial supply chain, and normal operation of grassroots communities. And these measures have already showing, effectiveness. And also, as I said in my speech, we are still committed to deepening reform and opening up. The foreign investment law has taken effect as of beginning of this year. And there's many new laws, regulations, which open up the market wider to the rest of the world, especially in the financial sectors, insurance. I think it offers a lot of opportunities, especially for UK businesses, which is stronger in financial services, legal services, insurance services. And also there will be more pilot free trade zones. The government is committed to shorten the negative list further. So there's a lot of new measures which are preferential to foreign businesses.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I mean, really building on that, there are a lot of questions coming in about digital, about artificial intelligence, about 5G. In your opening remarks, you spoke about this pandemic changing the way the world works, both in terms of work, but also education, health, digital delivery. China is already a highly digital society. I remember learning earlier this year that at a seminar for possible British offerers to Alibaba, that Alibaba has 800 million customers in China, each one of whom on average visits the site 27 times a day. Can you say something a bit more about the digital offer in China and about British businesses taking advantage of that, and the way in which we in Britain can learn from China's highly digitized approach to business?
I quite agree with you that digital economy is offering huge potential for collaboration between China and UK. In the first quarter of this year, though the economy, China's economy, has contracted by 6.8%, the lowest since 1992, I think, when we started these statistics. But the digital economy showed strong growth. It depends on the sector, but by the average, it increased by 20%. Online sale in online business, digital economy, and UK is the inventor of internet and has a strength, cutting edge, I would say, in the digital, in AI and in many areas. I think China and UK should work together on this sector as well. I can't give you specifics about a specific area, but there are many UK companies are already operating in China, and they know even better than you and I with regard to what the specifics they should work on. But I can only say, China offers a huge market. When we talk about China's contribution, many people focus on China as a factory of the world. Yes, we are the largest producer of many products in the world. Will continue to be that way. But you also have to remember, China is a huge market. It's the second largest consumer country in the world. I think very soon will be the largest consumer country in the world. So the digital economy has enormous opportunities, great prospects in China and for China-UK cooperation.
Well, thank you, Ambassador. Now, there are a number of questions coming in about Chinese foreign direct investment into the UK, particularly, and I see you have a picture of the Great Wall of China behind you, but in what are called the Red Wall seats. the seats that Boris Johnson won for the first time for the Conservative Party in a very long time indeed, if ever, the red wall seats across the north and the Midlands of the United Kingdom. Can you say something that I think at least three questions in front of me about Chinese investment in projects such as Boris Johnson's gigabit economy, about 8 projects like HS2, HS3, the cross-northern scheme, and other such projects? Is that something that will be affected by what's happened? What's your forecast for that?
We encourage more collaboration between different regions in China and UK. It were not for this COVID-19, we'll have a subnational summit. You know, when we say subnational, we mean regional summit, which involved about 700 local leaders. I think 300 of them already signed up from China, and even 500 in UK. This event is supposed to be held in Birmingham in February. You know, under the from British side, Sir John Peace, who is the chairman of the Midland Engine, and the embassy working very closely with him to set up this conference. There's enormous interest back in China. I think there's the complementary features between different strategies of the two countries. You know, you have a northern powerhouse, Midland Engine. In China, we have the Yangtze belt. We have this the Pearl Harbor, the Great Bay Area strategy, the Yangtze belt, economic belt, and Beijing, Hebei, and Tianjin economic zone. So we can dovetail the different strategies. And you are right that the Chinese businesses are very ambitious about making, you know, new efforts in the places outside London, and they have been successful in this respect. In March, even during the high time of the pandemic in China, and also starting of the outbreak in UK, I attended the acquisition event of a British Steel by Jingye, a Hebei factory, the acquisition of British Steel. That was a very good example of Chinese business commitment to UK market. You know, despite this COVID-19, despite the Brexit, I was joined by Secretary Xiaoming. We spoke highly of this event. You know, the Jingye is not the largest Chinese steel, but is one of the successful Chinese steel company. They are here not only as a result of this acquisition, they not only saved 3,200 jobs, but also they are committed 1.2 billion pounds for the next 10 years to upgrade British Steel. I think they will make their contribution to the transformation and upgrading of the British steel industry. I heard that their operation now was affected by the COVID-19 because of the industrial supply chains problem, but they still feel confident that it will come around, and they believe they made the right decision.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, I don't know if Lord Grimstone is listening to this call, but some of his officials certainly are. And as I'm sure everyone knows, Jerry Grimstone, Lord Grimstone, has been made Minister for Investment. And he will also, I imagine, be piloting through the House of Lords the new National Security and Investment Bill. And I just wondered, Ambassador, what you would say about to the British government about efforts to strengthen the national security controls on investment into the United Kingdom. Is that something that China understands, fears, disagrees with? What would your message be to Lord Grimsday?
I did have a good communication with Sir Jerry, though we didn't touch upon on the security review issue. I understand that every country has national security to take care of. That not only here in this country, but also in China. You know, national security is also one of the top priorities of the state, of the national government. But the important thing, I think, it has to be, whatever policies, laws you're going to pass, it has to be fair, has to be indiscriminate. You can't single out China as a target for the security threat. That is unfair. That will send very bad message, not only to the world, but also to China. And I think we understand, you know, as the world become more globalized and people has new concerns about the security. But it has to be indiscriminatory, it has to be transparent, it has to be fact-based, it has to be fair. That is very important because UK is known for its free, transparent, business-friendly environment. I don't want to see, the last thing I would like to see is that UK scare away foreign businesses, including China business, by so-called, strengthening security measures against foreign businesses.
Great. Well, thank you, Ambassador. If you agree, we perhaps might run on for a few more minutes, and I've got at least a couple of more questions to ask you, if you're able to stay on for a few more minutes. Is that possible?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, good. Well, the first of the two questions was about climate security. As some of us were hoping that we would have had a very senior Chinese visitor to come to COP26 in Glasgow in November. COP26 has now been postponed. But could you say something about cooperation between Britain and China in the field of climate security? Simon MacDonald, the head of the Foreign Office, told the Foreign Affairs Committee recently that there were few global problems that could be solved without participation of China, and certainly dealing with climate change seems to be one of them, in which there have been exchanges of technologies and expertise between Britain and China.
China is very committed to environmental protection and committed to Paris Agreement. We have faithfully implemented our obligations, and we are very much contributor to world efforts with regard to climate change. 2020 is supposed to be remembered as a collaboration between China and UK in environmental protection and climate change, because our two countries are planning to host probably COP. I'm sorry, we sometimes confuse COVID-19. It's a COP15 and COP26. We have a very close collaboration, and both governments designate, you call it a president, we call it a shepherd, I think, our minister, a new minister of environmental protection, Minister Huang, look forward to engage with Secretary Sharma. I have several exchanges with the Secretary Sharma with regard to how China and UK can work together to make these two conferences, the COP15 and COP26, a great success, not only for the benefits of our two countries, but also to show our leadership in this very important area. which, when we talk about COVID-19, we really have to think in the long term, how we can make this world a better place. So though we have been postponed because of the epidemic, but our two governments still keep very close contact online. The working group engage each other, and we look forward for more productive, active engagement with the British team. And so once this pandemic is over, we can resume our work and carry on our efforts.
Good. Thank you, Ambassador. Well, there are three more questions, I think, before we wind up. One about healthcare, one about Sino-British friendship and what can be done to reinforce it, and then one about the cultural links between Britain and China, bearing in mind that I think Peppa Pig and William Shakespeare are two of our greatest cultural exports to China. And I just wanted to end by asking on a lighter note about you having been here for 10 years, the cultural links between the two countries. But let's start with healthcare, and there have been a number of questions about that. You used this intriguing phrase, the healthcare Silk Road. We know that many millions of pounds worth of health supplies have been shipped to the United Kingdom from China in the last few weeks. But what does the healthcare Silk Road mean for Britain, apart from emergency supplies of PPE or ventilators?
PPE ventilators is just one side, one part of our collaborations. I'm very pleased that, even during the two telephone conversations between President Xi and Prime Minister Johnson, in addition focusing on the current fight against virus, they also attach great importance to collaboration between our two countries on science and joint efforts on the vaccine, medicines. This express their support to the scientists of two countries to work together on this very important area. And also on the ministerial level, Secretary, as I said in my speech, Matt Hancock, keep close contact with his counterpart, Minister Ma. In addition to telephone conversation, they have an exchange of letters to express their views with regard to how to deepen the collaboration between our two countries bilaterally and also multilaterally. So we have on the government level, we have a policy level, we have very close communication and contact. And on the ground, we have this mutual assistance and support in providing medical supplies and ventilators, PPE, as you said. And also we share the experience. We share the success of the treatment cases. When Chinese medical team was here, they had an online, like what we're doing here with the British counterparts. And also then the scientists, the universities, companies like GSK and others are working with their counterparts in China on vaccine, on medicines. I think at the end of the day, it will be vaccine that will provide the final solution to claim the final victory against this virus. And also on the international arena, I think China and UK are good partners. And we both support the important role by WHO. We both support the international response to the virus and to improve the global public health. Yesterday, in this conference hosted by EU and UK, we have our ambassador in EU, ambassador, my counterpart, Ambassador Xiaoming, represent the Chinese government, spoke highly of the efforts by the EU and Britain and other countries, and reaffirm our commitment to international effort, and also our support, especially for the developing countries, the poor countries. I think in the public health area, China and UK have a lot to cooperate. Culturally, China and UK has a time-honored history. China is a civilization of 5,000 years, uninterrupted civilization. And the UK also has a very rich culture and civilization. Every year, since I came here, we have hundreds of groups, culture groups, exchanging visits between the two countries. The Edinburgh Festival, Art Festival, is a big hit in China, and also attracts many hundreds of Chinese groups of dancers, performers, players, and Shakespeare. Yes, I attended several of their events. In fact, I encourage the collaboration between Royal Shakespeare companies, collaboration with their counterparts in China, both in terms of translating Shakespeare works and also in translating Chinese classics. And there's a new version of Hamlet staging in China. I got invitation when I was on home leave, but unfortunately, I got last-minute official business. I could not go. But I believe Hamlet, some of the players are a good friend of mine, and probably they are doing this online, and I haven't get in touch with them. I should find out what's the update of the new Hamlet in China. And so I think the opportunities are still there, the potentials are still there, and I believe that our cultural people, the artists, are talking each other online, and if they have a problem, including, communicating each other, just let me know. Including, I can't speak to the director of online now from Shakespeare, William Shakespeare Company. If they have a problem in communicating with their friends, their colleagues in Beijing, just let us know. We certainly will do our job to facilitate this communication.
Well, thank you, Ambassador. That's been a tour d'horizon and also a tour de force, if I may say so. I've been spending the lockdown rereading Jonathan Spence's wonderful book, The Search for Modern China. And it shows...
It's quite an old book. Yeah, I read it when I was in Fletcher School. We needed more new books. Look forward to your book about China-UK relations.
Yeah. But the point is, 150 years ago, we in the West knew more about China than China knew about the West. Now I think China understands more about us. We in Britain think we know about America or France, but we still know little about China. And I would like to end by putting to you the proposition that the task isn't to increase Britain's cultural exports to China, welcome though that is, but to make sure that there's more understanding in Britain of the depth and range and extent of Chinese culture and civilization, something which I think is still a work in progress. Anyhow, we're extremely grateful to you for giving us an hour and a quarter of your time, for ranging so widely, dealing with some very difficult and sensitive questions that will remain with us, I fear, for the months and indeed years ahead. And remembering always Zhou Enlai's great remark that we must seek common ground while acknowledging our differences and respecting each other's core interests. So thank you very much, Ambassador Liu. There's still nearly 300 people on this call, way over time. Thank you very much. And as our Queen said the other day, and Vera Lynn said on VE Day, which we celebrate on Friday of this week, we will meet again. Thank you.
Sure. Look forward meeting you soon. Thank you.